I'm Mike Ryan. In this video, we're going to go into some uncharted waters, some unexplored territory, if you will. And I have to be honest with you, it's not an area I'm real comfortable with because we're getting into the geology and the gemology of turquoise, which is not my strong suit. But we're going to bravely go there anyway because we see this in a lot of turquoise. And this is the area where we're really talking about turquocite and variquoise, that kind of blending area where the chemical formulas of these affiliated gemstones just kind of all merge together in a way. Now, I will refer you to a wonderful article that we have in Turquoise in America Part 2 on turquoise and affiliated gemstones. That's by Richard Shull. And he really goes into a lot more depth. And as a gemologist, he knows what he's talking about. But let's start with the basics. And turquoise is a hydrous aluminum phosphate. It has a chemical formula of Cu, copper, Al, alumina, 6, Po, phosphorus, 4, some hydroxide molecules, and 4 molecules of water. There are other gemstones that are in what they call a turquoise group, and they're called that because they also are hydrous copper aluminum phosphates that have 4 molecules of water. And these are faustite and chalcosiderite. In contrast, we have variscite. Variscite's formula is aluminum, Al, phosphorus, Po, 4 molecules of that, and 2 molecules of water. It's a much simpler formula. And one thing that really jumps out, it doesn't have the copper in it. And oftentimes we'll see with a variscite, which I understand in its pure form is white, the color only comes from extraneous molecules that come into the formula to give the various color and texture to variscite. Metavariscite is the same chemical formula, but it has a different chemical structure. Now, what that means, I don't know. We'll ask Richard about that. But it's included in the variscite family. These are 2 distinct families, if you will. One with 4 molecules, one with 2. They don't mix together. I think you may find them close together, turquoise here, variscite here, but you're not going to find turquoise and variscite coming together because of their different chemical formulas. So that's where we're going to start with our discussion today. Now, in our discussion of famous turquoise mines, one that some of you probably noticed was missing is a favorite of many, and that's Damelli. Now, the reason for that is I just don't have much Damelli turquoise because, personally, I'm not that fond of it. Okay, no letters. I know a lot of people are. But I do want to use it to show how we can have this combination of turquoise, variscite, and how difficult it can really be discerning them without having some sort of testing on them. We're going to start by taking a look at 2 mines, the Damelli mine and the Pyute mine. Now, these are less than a quarter mile apart, and they're really also very close to Godber Burnham, so they're in that same area outside of Austin, Nevada. Both of these mines were associated for many years with Tony Kotner. So we're going to take a look at some turquoise or some variscite from both the Damelli and Pyute mine. And then we're going to also take a look at what we know to be definitely variscite from Newlander, and one that some of you probably aren't that familiar with, Thunder Mountain. So let's go take a look at some turquocite and some variquoise. All right, we're going to start with Damelli, which is on the right, and Pyute on the left. Now, as I said before, these mines or claims, and we're really talking about two holes in the ground. Dell certainly mined more, much deeper hole, but really a small sort of operation. Pyute much less so. You may drive by that and not even realize it's a hole in the ground because it really has not had much production at all. But if we start over here with Dell, we're going to see something that to me really sort of jumps out as variscite. And this is this center cab. The others surrounding it, I think, are more typical of what are often thought of as Dell, which are kind of these kind of not your typical sort of turquoise look. We have two here that most people would look at that and identify that definitely as turquoise. But in contrast to a lot of mines, Dell is always considered turquoise. But if I look at a cab like that, I'm really hard-pressed to say, oh yeah, that's turquoise. But again, without testing, we can't really say for sure. Here, when we go over to Pyute, if you look at these cabs here on the top, I don't think we need too much testing for most people to say, oh yeah, that's turquoise. I don't know if they would necessarily say Pyute. For Pyute, we may think more of these sort of cabs down here. Again, all of them sort of really calling out as turquoise, except for perhaps this one in the center, which to my eye has more of a variscite look to it. But look down here on the bottom. This one comes out and somebody would say, wait a minute, how'd that Bisbee cab get in there? Well, that just goes to show how difficult turquoise identification can be, and how even two claims less than a quarter mile apart can really come up with such different formation of turquoise. Or is it turquoise? Well, we just have to enjoy what it is. In this grouping, we're going to see some, I think we can be pretty sure it's variscite now. We're moving up from the Austin area up into the Battle Mountain, and both of these claims are associated with the old Tanabo group. You can read all about that in Turquoise in America Part 2. It's been an important area for the discovery of turquoise, worked primarily by the Edgar family, and most famous for a Lander Blue claim on Indian Creek. But we're going to see here on the right, we see the Newlander, which I would say is probably, a couple of miles or so, 2 or 3 miles from the Lander Blue claim. And when you go up to Super X claim, if you look up to the northwest on a high bluff there, you can see the tailings coming from Newlander, which is owned by Ernie Montoya and has been worked by Lee Loudon. You can see the tailings from there. So here's an example. This is sort of the look for Newlander. Really comes out, it's got that kind of a paler look that you find in the variscite. Now, had we seen those and if somebody claimed these were Dell, I don't know who is going to argue with that. And yet we know in Newlander, while it has been said to be chalcosiderite, now I think after testing, most people are pretty much in agreement that if there is any chalcosiderite there, most of it is indeed variscite. And that really makes sense because all around that area, there's a number of variscite claims. So we come down and we're starting seeing another area. This, of course, very much of a variscite look as this one. In fact, all of these really have sort of what we would identify as very typical of a variscite look. If you went about, a mile or so away, maybe a little bit more, again, there's all sorts of variscite claims that are sort of mingled in with other turquoise claims, including the Badger, which is also an Ernie Montoya claim. But here we see Thunder Mountain. Now, this was an Edgar claim. I don't think they ever claimed it. I don't think they ever filed on it. I think they just worked this, whether they were high grading from some other claim or it was just unclaimed land. I don't think we know, but they really love this. And Rex Edgar is so proud of this. He thinks this is some of the most beautiful. Now he says turquoise, but I think it's pretty sure that it is variscite. Now it's a little misleading in this photo. I was putting these down in front of the camera, and I'm looking at this, and as I put it under the camera, all of a sudden, these cabs got much bluer. What you see there as being very blue is really a paler look that you'd associate more with a variscite. In the same way, this one, which looks like a nice bright sky blue, really has a lot more green in the color. Much more of a variscite look as this one. Not really near as blue, although this is a little closer, although where the blue here, I'm looking at it, and it's actually a little bit more green. This one's coming out as like, oh, what a beautiful turquoise blue there. But again, this one is pretty much definitely a greenish look to it. So once again, we're seeing here how the turquoise and variscite get intermingled and can be confused. How turquoise identification becomes very difficult because of the interaction of the turquocite and the variquoise.